Stoicism tells us that not everyone has our best interests at heart. Today, we'll talk about the 9 types of people that smart people keep at arm's length. In this movie, we'll get through the rough spots. Looking at the waters of human relationships through the lens of Stoicism, we'll list the 9 people you should stay away from to keep your tranquility in virtue. Stoicism isn't just about being able to handle suffering, it's also about picking your friends. Think carefully about these ideas and develop relationships that are in line with your greatest good, which is one of the nicer things that Stoics say. People see flatterers as a sneaky threat to their sense of right and wrong and peace of mind. The flatterer often dread under the cover of friendship and goodwill. He uses flattery and too much praise to trick and control others. Their comments, which may seem nice or even helpful, are not based in truth, but in their own self-interest. Watch out for the flatterer. Stoics like Sia and Epictetus warned against flatterers because they knew that they hurt real relationships and took our attention away from developing virtue by appealing to our vanity and ego. If we get used to their sweet nothings, we risk becoming dependent on outside approval, which goes against the Stoic ideal of being self-sufficient and happy inside. The better effect on virtue. Stoicism teaches that virtue is the best thing in the world and should be the main goal of our lives. Flatterers can pull us away from this goal because their praise may make us do things that will make them happy instead of what is morally right. This can cause our actions to be at odds with our values, which can lead to stress and conflict within us. Telling the difference between flattery and real praise. It is very important to tell the difference between flattery and real praise. Genuine praise, on the other hand, is given without expecting anything in return and is seen as sincere. The Stoic response to flattery is one of indifference and rational evaluation. Philosophers called Stoics would tell us to think about what people are saying and whether the praise matches how we see ourselves. They would also tell us to stay humble and get feedback from people we trust to be honest and helpful. The flatterer is different from the strict ideals of authenticity, self-reliance, and virtue. By staying alert and true to Stoic teachings, we can keep ourselves safe from flatterers who try to trick us and keep going on our way to morality and wisdom. Being honest. From the point of view of the Stoic, talk is a bad thing that happens in communities and makes people less trusting. Trouble through idle talk. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus stress how important it is to talk with purpose and the truth, not just to have a conversation, but also to help yourself and others. The devastating power of gossip is usually based on lies or exaggerations and can do a lot of damage. It can ruin reputations, put a strain on relationships, and make people suspicious of others. Talking about, or just passively listening to gossip, takes our attention away from the goal of virtue and wisdom. It's a waste of one of our most powerful tools. Speech on why Stoics try to stop rumors. Stoicism tells us to think about and act on our own actions instead of other people's actions unless they directly affect us. Gossiping takes our attention away from improving ourselves and puts it on small things going on in other people's lives. It also makes us quick to judge others without all the facts, which goes against Stoic ideas of justice and fairness. How talk hurts communities, and places where gossip is common are places where trust is weak. Stoicism values the community and the help it gives us in our search for a virtual life. Gossip, on the other hand, tears down the very structure of this community, putting up walls between people and stopping them from making real connections. How to deal with gossip in a Stoic way. The Stoic way to deal with gossip is to stay away from it completely. If confronted with gossip, a Stoic would listen without judging and without spreading the information further. They would also change the subject to something more constructive or leave the conversation altogether. In essence, gossip is a departure from Stoic ideals of truthfulness and integrity. By staying away from gossip and encouraging others to do the same, we uphold the Stoic virtues of wisdom and justice, which leads to a healthier community and a more focused road to self-improvement for each person. Stoics believe that envy, which is a feeling of discontent or covetousness about someone else's advantages, success, or possessions, is a bad emotion that can ruin our character and stop us from becoming more virtue. Someone who begrudges other people's successes can be a toxic presence in our lives, subtly undermining our efforts and joy. The Stoic view on envy. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, we should focus on our own journey and making ourselves better, as Stoicism says. Envy takes our attention away from this. When we focus on being angry at others instead of thinking about ourselves, we're believing the false idea that their success makes our own less important, which goes against the Stoic belief that everyone's path is valuable in its own right. Why stay away from the jealous? People who are jealous often can't really enjoy other people's successes, which can make them do bad things like gossip, backbiting, or even sabotaging. Not being able to enjoy other people's successes shows that they are unhappy with their own lives and place their control elsewhere, which are both opposites of Stoic values. What envy does to relationships. Relationships that are tainted by envy are rarely satisfying or helpful. Instead of mutual growth and encouragement, they are marked by competition and insecurity. Stoicism values relationships that are based on mutual respect and the shared pursuit of virtue, not on one-upmanship or jealousy, dealing with envy in a Stoic way. To handle envy, Stoics would advise us to practice empathy and to understand that everyone has their own struggles and challenges. We should also remind ourselves of the Stoic principle of amor fati, a love of fate, and accept that each person's fortune is part of the natural order of things. In summary, the envious person embodies attitudes that are antithetical to Stoic teachings by recognizing the harm that envy can cause in choosing to surround ourselves with people who are supportive and virtuous. We can maintain our Stoic composure and continue on our path to a fulfilled and virtuous life. 4. The hypocrite in the Stoic tradition. Hypocrisy is seen as a great vice because it represents a fundamental disconnect between one's professed beliefs and actual behaviors. A phony is someone who doesn't live up to the standards they set for others, either on purpose or by accident. This hurts the trust and honesty that are at the heart of Stoic ethics. How to understand Stoicism and lying. At its core, Stoicism is about living a good and wise life where your actions are in line with your beliefs. The phony, on the other hand, lives a contradictory life. They may talk about being honest, brave, and temperate, but their actions show that they are not. Not only does this hurt their character, but it also hurts those around them. What lies can do to you. Hypocrisy is dangerous because it can spread like a virus. When leaders or role models act hypocritically, they set a bad example for others to follow. This can create a society where virtues are only talked about, but rarely put into practice. For Stoics who believe in the power of example, Hippocrates' influence is especially harmful. Stoic teachings on how to deal with hypocrisy. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca give advice on how to deal with people who lie. Suggest that we should be understanding and kind to people who are being hypocritical without becoming hypocritical ourselves. Marcus Aurelius says that the best way to get even with someone is to not be like them. This means that instead of acting like hypocrite, we should try to be honest and consistent in our actions. This is called cultivating authenticity, and it helps us fight the hypocrite's impact. Stoics believe in self-examination and taking responsibility for our actions. We need to make sure we are not guilty of the same dishonesty we judge in others. By focusing on our own honesty and trying to be consistent in what we say and do, we can live up to the Stoic ideal of authenticity. To sum up, the hypocrite is someone who goes against the Stoic commitment to virtue and honesty. By spotting the signs of hypocrisy in ourselves and others, and making a promise to live a consistent and honest life, we uphold the Stoic virtues and make the community more trustworthy and good. 5. The attitude in Stoic thought. A sensitive person is one who can't keep their emotions in check and often loses them. This instability can make them feel bad and make the peace of those around them less stable. Stoicism teaches people how important sobriety is. Sobriety is the virtue of keeping things in balance and moderation in all parts of life. People who are emotional often act on impulse, letting their feelings control what they do. This can cause them to behave inconsistently, have tense relationships, and live a life that depends on what happens in the outside world. Stoics think that this kind of lack of self-discipline makes it harder to live a good and sensible life. This is why Stoics value self-discipline. Having temper. In Stoicism, one of the 4 main principles is temperance, also known as self-control. Temperance is the skill of controlling strong reactions and staying cool and collected when upset. By practicing temperance, we can reach a balanced state of mind, show moral excellence, and wisely use our freedom of choice. What temperamental means for relationships. Dealing with a temperamental person can be difficult. Their mood swings can make the surroundings uncertain and uncomfortable. Stoics believe that relationships should be stable and dependable, but when dealing with a temperamental person, these qualities are lost. Stoic strategies for dealing with temperamental behavior. Stoics would tell us to respond with patience and understanding. It's important to remember that we can't control other people's emotions, but we can control how we react to them. Stoics also said that we should show others how to stay calm and logical in tough conditions. In conclusion, the moody person is an obstacle to the Stoic ideal of inner peace and logical living. By showing temperance and dealing with others with understanding and calm, we can lessen the negative effects of unstable people and stay on track to reach Stoic virtue 6. The manipulator in the scheme of Stoicism. A manipulator is someone who really gets in the way of practicing virtue because they like to use other people for their own gain, often by lying and being sneaky. This goes against the Stoic principles of being honest, protecting others' rights, and respecting their independence. The calm view on being manipulated Stoicism encourages people to find inner peace and independence. By practicing traits like wisdom, courage, and justice, we can become strong enough to stand up to people who try to control us. The manipulator, on the other hand, tries to weaken these ideals by getting other people to do things that are against their own interests or values. This is why Stoics warn people to stay away from manipulators. Misguided people can stop us from becoming good by spreading confusion and doubt. They often set up situations that make us want to give up our morals for short-term wins or to avoid conflict. For Stoics who want to be clear and morally consistent, these situations are a temptation. These kinds of influences are especially bad for your health and the health of your community. Being around a manipulator can make you feel betrayed and lose trust, which are bad for your health and the health of your community. Stoicism teaches that, for virtue to grow, there must be a society based on mutual respect and shared values. Stoic ways to deal with manipulators. Stoics say we should be aware of our own judgments and decisions and make sure they are always our own and not the result of manipulation. They also say we should show empathy, knowing that the manipulator's actions often come from their own weaknesses. By focusing on what we can control, our own thoughts and actions, we can avoid being swayed by others. In conclusion, a manipulator is a big departure from Stoic ideals. By recognizing the signs of manipulation and sticking to our own principles, we can protect our independence and keep moving towards Stoic wisdom and virtue. Stoicism helps us focus on our own virtues instead of the problems in the outside world, which keeps us from falling for plans that are meant to trick us. 7. According to Stoic thought, Pride is a big problem that gets in the way of being wise and good. Someone who is arrogant is too sure of their own importance, skills, or knowledge, often to the point where they don't respect others or want to learn. This attitude goes against the Stoic ideals of humility, open-mindedness, and admitting that we are flawed. What Stoics say about being arrogant. For Stoics, arrogance is a problem because it shows an inflated sense of self-worth that isn't based in reality. It makes people less self-aware and unable to grow because arrogant people don't want to listen to other people's advice or criticism. This can mean that they miss out on chances to improve themselves and fail to gain true wisdom. Why STS tells people to be careful around cocky people. Cocky people's rude behavior can hurt the people around them. Their rudeness can stop people from talking to each other openly and honestly, which is important for building strong communities for STS who value the pursuit of virtue as a group. This kind of environment is bad for everyone's progress. How arrogance affects personal growth. Being proud can also get in the way of your own growth. The idea of Stoicism says we should always be ready to learn and know our own limits. The cocky person, on the other hand, doesn't see their flaws and doesn't want to change, which goes against the Stoic practice of always looking at yourself and growing. Stoic ways to deal with cocky people. Stoics would tell us to keep our cool and not take their behavior personally. They would also tell us to show humility and openness in our own behavior so that others can learn from our mistakes. Arrogance is a threat to the Stoic ideal of living a life of virtue and mutual respect. But if we know what arrogance can't do and commit to being humble and willing to learn, we can avoid its pitfalls and keep moving toward Stoic wisdom and virtue. 8. The procrastinator is a figure in Stoic philosophy. Procrastination is not just a small flaw, it's a big problem for living a good and useful life. Someone who consistently puts off doing things they need to do goes against the Stoic principle of living in harmony with nature, which includes savoring the present moment. The patient view of putting things off. People think that putting things off is a sign of lack of self-control and a loss of reason. It comes from a condition called akrasia, which means acting against one's better sense. Stoics, a Roman philosopher, made a funny observation that fools are always getting ready to live but never do. This shows how Stoics feel about putting things off, because they believe that delaying things wastes time, which is why they warn against it. People who put things off often miss chances to grow and achieve things because they wait to take action. Not only fail to move forward, but also make Stoics more anxious and stressed. This is because Stoics value peace and making good use of time. Delaying things is a big problem that makes it hard to live a good life. It also slows down personal growth. Putting things off can make you unhappy and make you feel like you regret what you did. Marcus Aurelius said to do everything as if it were the last thing you would ever do. This sense of urgency pushes us to finish our tasks quickly and live each day with purpose. Stoic strategies for dealing with procrastination. To fight procrastination, Stoics would suggest reflecting on our mortality through the practice of modo mori. Remember that you have to die. This strong reminder of how short life is drives people to act right away. Other ways to get things done are to break them down into small steps that are easier to handle and to focus on the process rather than the end result. In conclusion, perfection can help you get past the paralysis of perfectionism. The procrastinator is a person who doesn't live up to their promises. Productivity and virtue. By understanding the problems with putting things off and making a promise to act when we say we will, we can avoid the problems that come with putting things off and keep moving toward Stoic wisdom and virtue. 9. The skeptic in Stoic thought, the cynic is someone who always sees the bad side of things and thinks the worst will happen. This way of thinking is very different from the Stoic way of thinking, which encourages a realistic but positive view of life. The Stoic view on negativity. Not denying problems is not Stoicism. Instead, it means facing them with courage and the idea that we can get through them. Pessimists, on the other hand, see problems as constant and unsolvable, which can make them feel helpless and unable to do anything about them. Stoics believe that we should focus on what we can control and work to make things better, which is why they warn against pessimism. Being pessimistic can be draining for both the person who has it and the people around them. It can kill the spirit of perseverance and resilience that Stoicism promotes by expecting the worst. Pessimists may not take action that could lead to better outcomes. How pessimism affects personal growth. Being pessimistic can stop you from growing as a person because it makes you unwilling to change and make improvements. People who follow Stoicism believe that problems can be turned into chances to grow. This idea is called the obstacle is the way, but pessimists might not be motivated to see problems in this way. Stoics would suggest that people who are pessimistic focus on developing virtues like wisdom, courage, and temperance. These traits help us see things fairly when we face problems in life, neither too positive nor too negative. To fight negative thoughts, Stoics would also tell us to be thankful and think about the good things that have happened in the past. Finally, the pessimist is an enemy of the Stoic ideal of living a balanced and active life. But by understanding the flaws of a pessimistic outlook and committing to a philosophy of action and virtue, we can avoid the problems that come with pessimism and continue our journey to Stoic wisdom and happiness. Stoic philosophy gives us a powerful way to think about the kinds of people who can get in the way of our goal of virtue and personal growth, from people who flatter us without meaning to, and people who put things off until later. Each of these 9 characters has traits that can pull us away from the road of Stoicism. The Stoic ideal of living a coherent and authentic life is harmed by people who lie, cheat, are pessimistic, and are inconsistent. Stoicism doesn't just point out these problems, it also gives us the tools to solve them through self-awareness, good judgment, and the development of inner virtues. By understanding the flaws of these 9 types of people and sticking to our own values, we can navigate our relationships with knowledge and discernment. We can also keep our independence and honesty as we move toward Stoic wisdom. Let's try to spend time with people who inspire and support our quest for a good life. Let's choose friends who have the same values we do and strive to have. By doing this, we will not only improve our own lives, but also make the world a better place to live. Remember that the people we hang out with can shape our character and our future. If you want to find knowledge and strength on your life's path, choose wisely and subscribe to our channel, Stoic Hero. Come learn with us about the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and help us build a community of strong and good people. To get news, click the bell.